going back home for the holidays in a few days, and so I thought I might as well tell you about my experience studying abroad while I pack, and also share with you some mistakes I think might ruin your time abroad. I'm Bulgarian, and I moved to the UK about 6 years ago. I did a 4-year undergrad at the University of Kent, which included a 1-year study abroad in Japan. I've met dozens of international students, and I am not going to say I've seen it all, but I'd say I've seen and experienced enough to impart my wisdom on you. Now, to demonstrate my supreme organization skills, which some might call psychotendencies, in this notebook here, I have pretty much everything I need to pack and some bullet points with all of the things I want to cover in this video, just so I don't miss anything. Doing too much research. Now, I know some might disagree with this, and I admit doing research is important when you're going to a new country and you're about to experience new culture. And yes, you should do some research, basic research on that. And you should definitely go in depth when it comes to living arrangements and bank stuff and, you know, like the essential living stuff. But when it comes to more in-depth cultural stuff, like 10 things to do in this country, 10 things not to do in this country, or if you go deep into like things I love about this country, things I hate about this country, and you go through like lists and YouTube videos and blog posts and whatever, I honestly believe that can be quite harmful because it sets biases and expectations, and that can really affect the way you perceive the new people you meet and the culture you experience. It's much better to learn about those things from people who actually live in the country. Because also online, there is so much content out there that's just there to be sensational or to divide people, keep people watching, because higher attention rates are great. And what better way to keep high retention rates than by saying something that's really extraordinary and mind-blowing, even if it only happens in like 2 places in the country, you know? And then people think of that as like, yes, that's how it is, so I should keep that in mind and be careful. When I was getting ready to go to Japan, I did watch a lot of those. I was concerned about what I would wear, how my hair would be perceived, because I used to have like very colorful hair, because I had this expectation that everyone there is going to dress more conservatively. And people will frown upon you showing skin, like, you know, wearing the straps. And people would, you know, shun you for it. And they would criticize you, and people would avoid you, and maybe it would be hard to make friends, and blah, 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 blah. Like, stupid stuff like that. No one cares. Honestly, no one cares. Maybe old people do, but why put that stress on yourself? The thing everyone has heard about, Japan is so high-tech. Everything is automated. Things happen so fast. And then you go there. And you're not just a tourist, but you actually have to experience life there. And it's like, no! Absolutely not! Administrative stuff. Everything's on paper. If you need government services, even if you just need to go to the bank, it's all paper. And it takes a lot of time. There's barely any automation, but that's things that most online resources won't prepare you for. And it's the same with expectations about people. Oh, they're so conservative. Oh, it'll be very hard to make friends. Stop it! They're just people. They're just normal people like you. Yes, there are cultural differences, but learn about those cultural differences by speaking to them. You know? You know? Okay. Anyway, also keep in mind that doing too much research and viewing those expectations, it can lead to a whole lot of disappointment. Disappointed! In the same way as like you research the UK and it's all about, you know, manners and how proper everyone is. And then you come to London and you're just like, where do I go to find the people with manners and the gentlemen? Where can I go to escape the bruv epidemic? Help? Expecting people to adjust to you. This is very important. You are a foreigner. You are going into a new country. Don't expect people to cater to you and your culture and your beliefs. Okay? That's very self-centered. Sorry, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. That is very self-centered. If you're used to being loud and outspoken and just, you know, kind of like everywhere with your personality, and then you go to a country where people are generally more on the quiet side. Don't expect them to suddenly also become loud because of your influence, and don't expect them to like you when you're being disrespectful to them. Just be respectful. Don't expect the people in that country to respect you if you don't show respect to their culture. Simple. Another one is taking things too personally, especially if you're going to a country that's so different from yours and you're meeting people from all around the world, or people who have left the country for the first time, or meeting foreigners for the first time. Don't take it personally, and don't immediately jump to racism and discrimination when people act a little bit more weird around you, or are more curious, or curious in a weird way about you or your culture or your background. Most of the time, it really is just curiosity. It's not coming from a bad place. And if it's not coming from a bad place, yes, even if it's ignorant, even if it's grounded in bias, it's not coming from a bad place. They don't want to be bad people. They want to learn. They're curious. Teach them. And yes, some people will say, oh, but it's not my job to teach them. Are you there to communicate with people and bond and create international relationships? Or are you again there to expect people to cater to you? What are we doing here? Living abroad as an Eastern European, I have experienced my fair share of prejudices and biases, okay? I have. It's not that hard to tell when it's coming from a bad place and when it's coming from a good place. If it's coming from a bad place, then of course just strictly say goodbye and move on. You don't need that person. But generally when it's coming from, something good, just have a normal conversation, educate people, let them learn about you the same way you want to learn about them. It's all about cultural exchange, come on. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm being a little bit too ranty and preachy, but I do get very passionate talking about stuff like this. Because honestly, studying abroad is absolutely amazing, and I get so sad when I meet people that leave the country they've studied with resentment. Next point is not studying the language. Quite often, a lot of people will say, oh, but you don't need to learn the language to have a good time. Because you get around, because you meet people and make friends. And while that is true, speaking the language will really, really make your time abroad much better. And I am saying this as someone who almost ruined her year abroad in Japan because of not speaking the language. I had studied Japanese for 2 years before I went, okay? And I was still studying Japanese when I went to Japan. And I had a basic level of Japanese. The problem was that I was scared of speaking the language. I was so self-conscious. I kept thinking people would judge me if I made mistakes. Because I was so scared of speaking the language, I really limited myself to the experiences I could have in Japan. And I really regret it to this day, not only because of missed opportunities, but also because I probably would be fluent by now if I had taken the time to actively get out of my comfort zone and speak the language with native Japanese speakers. But anyway, that's all in the past. Mistakes were made. Please don't make my mistakes. Believe me, people will not judge you if you make mistakes. I don't know why I was so worried about Japanese, but I wasn't about English. Of course, I was nervous about people being like, oh, she's a foreigner, I can tell by her accent, and avoiding me because of that. Just stupid brain stuff. But I had no other choice, and I had to speak English because there was no other language I could speak in the country and get by, while in Japan I could speak in English and get by. And the really ironic thing here is that my English became better when I went to Japan because I was consistently speaking only in English. Make it make sense, because it doesn't really make sense to me, but it is what it is. Thank you, Japan, for improving my English. Lights. Fourth? Are we 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Comparing everything to your country. I can't even count how many people I've met that do this. Oh, but in my country we do this. Oh, but in my country it's this. Oh, but in my culture we do this. Oh, but in my country this is better. Oh, but we wouldn't do that in my country. No one cares. You're not in your country. This is not beneficial to anyone. If you're sharing stories, that's fine. If you're teaching someone about something, that's fine. But if you're constantly making comparisons, stop. Please, I'm begging you to stop. You're harming yourself and the people you're talking to. And also, doing this will significantly boost your homesickness. And you don't want that. Believe me, you don't want that. Okay? It is just going to get harder and harder for you to remain in the country you're studying. I've met people who have given up on their study abroad after only spending a month, even a week. I have an acquaintance that only lasted 1 week because they kept missing home and they were comparing everything to home. You're not home. You can make this place you're in feel like home, but you're not home. You've gotten outside of your home with the purpose of experiencing new things. Open yourself up to experiencing new things. Stop thinking about what it is at home. Stop thinking about what you would be doing right now if you were at home, who you would be with, all that stuff. And on the subject also of homesickness, don't expect to be homesick. Because if you don't feel homesick, but other people around you do, or your friends do, or whatever, you might feel like there's something wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you for not feeling homesick. Don't expect to feel it. Don't blame yourself for not feeling it. Not feeling homesick does not mean you care less about the people you love. You're just not homesick. Honestly, I think you should be happy and proud of yourself that you're not feeling homesick. Big changes are a shock to the system, physically and emotionally. And if you're able to control that shock and accept things as they are and make the most out of it without feeling guilt and regret and homesickness, then you are doing amazing. Now, if you are feeling homesick, but you're still in that new place and you're still trying your best and you're battling against it and you're still having an amazing time, then you're also doing amazing, okay? Don't let homesickness knock you down. Another thing is to not just hang on to other foreign students and other exchange students. I'm guilty of doing this as well when I was in Japan. I held on tight to my fellow exchange students because, well, they could understand what I was going through. Communication with them was easier, again, because of speaking in English. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love all of them. And I am really grateful for their friendship and we still keep in touch. But that really did limit my circle of people and my exposure to the new culture I was in. Thankfully, I had a host family and my foreign friends actually really did want to explore the new country and its culture and everything. So we did go out of our way to do that. And we weren't just stuck in this whole foreign camaraderie? Is that a word? Yes, my English is dying. Shush. And also on that note, throughout my whole time in the UK, from my first year of university, I ran away from every Bulgarian I met for the simple reason that I didn't want to feel comfortable finding someone who speaks my language and sticking to that. I wanted to have other foreign students as friends, British people as friends, and not Bulgarians as friends. And I know some people will think of that as me trying to escape from my own culture and my own heritage. How am I going to escape from it? It's there. It's who I am. It's part of me. Wherever I go, I am bringing that with me. That doesn't mean that I have to constantly be surrounded by other people from that same culture and heritage. I am not going to lose myself because I'm interacting with people from other cultural backgrounds. Kent did have a Bulgarian society. I avoided it completely. I heard Bulgarian speech, I ran the other way, and I honestly think that that's one of the main reasons why first my English improved a lot, and second, I integrated myself quite well within British society, let's say it that way, and also why I consistently feel good in this country. Yes, I'm a foreigner. Yes, there is some discrimination, but I still don't feel like I'm the odd one out, you know? Like the world is against me and people are all constantly going to discriminate against me because I'm Eastern European. I don't feel that. I've had a lot of acquaintances say that British people are very hard to befriend. British people are like this, British people are like that, they will never be your friends. That's just not my experience. I'm sorry, but it's not. And I honestly believe that if you think that way, if that is your mentality, if you're going into it with that mentality, then that will be your truth. But it's not my truth. Maybe I got very lucky with the people I surrounded myself with, but I was intentional with the people I was choosing to be my friends. And at the end of the day, my best friends are Bulgarian. My boyfriend is Bulgarian. I speak and write in Bulgarian every day. I go back home for the holidays whenever I can. That for me is enough. Not communicating enough with your family and friends from back home, but also communicating too much with them. There has to be a balance. If you're constantly talking to your friends from back home or your family on the phone, through Discord or whatever, if you're a gamer and you're constantly playing games with them and you're just staying home so you can communicate with them and do that, then you will be wasting the limited amount of time you have to go and explore this new country and new culture by just reverting back to, you know, your comfort zone and what you like and what you enjoy and what's familiar. That definitely does not mean that you should not be talking to your friends and family every day or every other day, you know, just keeping in touch, knowing that you have that support right behind you, because I think that's very, very important for, you know, staying sane and not feeling lonely, not feeling alone, especially at the beginning stages where you're, you know, just starting to build your life in that new country. Try and find your balance when it comes to keeping in touch with the people from back home. Saying yes to everything. And I know a lot of people will say that, oh no, but your time abroad is exactly when you should be saying yes to everything. Like, no, it's not. It's absolutely not. Because you can get overwhelmed. I've gotten so overwhelmed by constantly agreeing to do stuff and trying to schedule everything and not disappoint anyone, not disappoint myself and my expectations of what my study abroad should be. And that, at least in my case, really led to burnout. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to go out with everyone. If you keep saying yes to things, and the one thing you're saying no to is the schoolwork you have to do, then you are really, really putting yourself in a bad position. Because if you start failing your year abroad, or if you just start failing your courses in the country you're studying, then that can have very, very bad results for you. So yes, experiencing new things is very important as a whole purpose of this whole experience, but it should not overshadow your mental health, your physical health, and your goals. And speaking of goals, you should decide what your goal is for your study abroad experience. Is your focus going to be on getting good grades and studying, or is it going to be on traveling and experiencing more with your friends? Now, in my case, for the UK specifically, it was to study. I mean, 3 years of undergrad and 2 years master's degree. It's studying. The priority is studying. I have plenty of time to explore and do stuff if I want to later on or during that large period of time I'm spending in the UK. In Japan, to be fair, I was quite split. So I went there with the idea of exploring the country a lot, but I ended up being quite lucky and I pretty much had private law classes, and that's where I started studying law for the first time, and I absolutely fell in love with studying it. My teacher was probably the best teacher I've ever had. Amazing experience, amazing opportunity that I did not want to miss. But I was also there to experience the country and also learn the language. So I had to compromise. And guess on what I compromised? Studying language. I went to Japan to become better in Japanese and to experience Japan. And I ended up going to Japan to study law and experience Japan. So you have to make some sacrifices. You can't have everything. So try and figure out early on what your goal is for your study abroad experience, because that will make things easier. It will make decision making easier. Pretending to be someone you're not. Studying abroad will change you. It will change you no matter what. The big mistake I think a lot of people make when they go abroad is that they decide that now's the time to be a new person. No one knows you there. It's time for the new you. The new you won't happen on your first day there. Oh, ooh, that's a big helicopter. I think it's a military one. Anyway, so as I was saying, the change will not happen immediately after you get off the airplane. It will not. If you try to make it happen that day, or like from the beginning, and present an image to the people you meet that's not actually you, and then try to maintain it, you will be battling against the natural change that is going to happen to you. You will be lying to yourself, you will be lying to other people, that will put a tremendous amount of pressure on you, and I think it's very likely to completely ruin your time abroad. Let the change happen naturally. Just let it flow through you. Be flexible, be adaptable. Don't go there being like, okay, this is the new me. I will be very outspoken. I will be very extroverted. And people will like me. And I will be the life of the party and blah, 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 you know. Yes, you can set, as I said, goals for yourself. And you can try and align yourself to those goals and in the way you're going to approach achieving those goals. But that's more related to action than what your personality is going to be. I changed a lot in Japan. Not so much in the UK, but Japan really kind of did a switch on me. I used to be a very introverted person. Like really introverted. I was also very self-conscious. I hated speaking in class. I hated expressing my opinion in class, especially here in the UK. Here in the UK, for some reason, I felt very self-conscious, and I always thought that if I spoke up in class, people would think I'm stupid, or they would judge me. You know, that whole loop again that I had with the Japanese language, but here was just for everything. Whereas once I went to Japan, I very quickly was basically forced to become very expressive, very bubbly, very outspoken. It all happened very automatically. I wasn't even thinking about doing that. It just came out naturally because I was in that type of environment and I was put in those types of situations where I had to take the lead. I had to be very friendly and bubbly, and maintaining that for about a year, not because I wanted to, because I was forced, it just stuck with me. And now it no longer feels forced. It just changed me in a way. And I think it's changed me for the better. Well, that's just an example of how you should just let the natural changes take place. And with that, we are touching on another big mistake, which I've seen a lot of people make, and that is not keeping track of your mental health. Because it can be quite the hit mentally when you go out there alone and everything's just different. And to be fair, I think keeping track of your mental health requires a lot of self-awareness and of knowing yourself very well and like what's odd about your behavior and what's not. In my experience, it was very beneficial for me to just kind of like keep a little journal and see what I was doing during the day, if I was being productive or not, what issues I was having, how I was feeling emotionally, how I was feeling health-wise. Otherwise, especially in Japan, I probably would have gotten myself into a hole because I was in Japan when COVID hit, right? And fortunately, Japan didn't have very strict restrictions at the beginning, so we still had quite a lot of freedom. But again, it was a switch, and having to spend so much time isolated and by yourself with your own thoughts without a lot of opportunities to do anything else but just sit in your room by yourself and think can be quite overwhelming. Just keep track of your mental health. Talk to people. Express your emotions. It's very important to express your emotions. Just don't try to tackle everything by yourself. And if you're not feeling well, talk to people about it. I've had my fair share of friends and acquaintances who kind of went down that hole, and it took them a long time to recover. And it just impacted on their studies and on their whole experience of studying abroad, of being university students. Just take care of yourselves, please. On a more lighter subject, overpacking is a big issue. Just get the bare necessities. Bring some of your favorite clothes. Bring 1 or 2 books that you like and enjoy. Self-care books. If it's proper self-care books, then good for you. My self-care books are The Wheel of Time, which are a bit hard to bring. But I always bring like the big last one with me. I don't know why, I just do. It's just who I am as a person. It's my personality at this point. The Wheel of Time! Anyway, bring stuff with you that bring you comfort and things that you really like. So basically just have the good stuff with you. And then everything else you can buy. Speaking of buying stuff, keeping track of your budget is essential. It's a very grown-up thing to say. But it is what it is. You have to keep track of your spending. Because one of the big things that can put a hamper, is that what I want to say? Google? Damper. Yes, it will put a damper on. What's he gonna say with that word? Anyway, manage your spending. Keep track of your budget. You do need money to enjoy your year abroad. Also, you need money to enjoy life. It is what it is. Save money, be careful how you spend it. End of point. Not exactly end of point. Okay, there's more points to this. Let's say sub-points. The organization is falling apart now. Shh. Yes, okay, so I would say that spending money on things rather than experiences is a no-no. Spending money on making your room feel homey is a yes. Now let me elaborate. So spending money on things instead of experiences is a quick way to waste your money and then not be able to go out with friends, not be able to explore the country, and then just be filled with stuff that then you have to figure out how you're going to take back home with you, which is extra spending. And unless it's something that will serve as a memory, at least in my opinion, it's just pointless to buy it. Like getting new clothes and bags and shoes, unless you really need them. Why waste your money on that when you can use that money to, I don't know, take the train, go to a new location, like go to a nearby village, meet people, eat yummy food, and, get some experience out of it. Not just a thing, but an actual life experience. So that's why I say it's a no-no. And the reason why buying stuff for your room is a yes is because I honestly think it will help with homesickness. If you make your room feel like home, like a safe space you return to that brings you joy, then I think you're more likely to feel less homesick. I personally, wherever I go, I always make sure I have fairy lights with me, so I put fairy lights in my room. I put some photos of friends, because I have like a bunch of printed out photos, and I always carry them with me when I move to new accommodation. And one of the first things I do when I'm unpacking is put the fairy lights on, put the pictures on my wall, and make myself feel a little bit home, at least a little bit home, okay? Your room is supposed to be your safe space. It's where you go back to relax and recharge. If it looks like a prison room, if it looks like a Spartan room, it will affect you. It will affect you. You cannot convince me it will not affect you. Moving on. The next one is not taking enough photos or videos, or not keeping little keepsakes like tickets, or not writing a journal. Whichever way you prefer when it comes to preserving memories, do that. Do more of it. Do more than you think you should be doing. Because as you get older, you will start forgetting. I have started forgetting what I did in Japan 3 years ago, and sometimes I just go through my Instagram and be like, oh yes, I did do this. Human memory is fragile, okay? It's fleeting. One day you remember this, the next one, out, gone. What happened? I don't know. As an example, I went to the Kyoto Zoo in Japan with my roommate, my best friend, and my best friend's sister, which I now also consider one of my best friends. I have completely removed the one friend that I now consider one of my best friends from my memory. I cannot remember her being there at all, okay? And they keep telling me she was there and what we were doing, and I was like, no, she's absolutely gone from my memory. There is nothing here. I can't even picture her in the zoo. We're getting old. We will forget stuff. Just keep some memories with you more, okay? Personal advice. By no means am I saying that you should constantly be recording. You should always take your phone out when something happens, and that you should not be living in the moment. You should be living in the moment. And there are some really, really special moments that you just don't feel recording because they're so special, right? And you want to enjoy them fully. And I do still feel that way about a lot of stuff. But I also know I will forget them. At some point, I will forget them. If I'm having really such a brilliant time, then I will take at least one photo. Or at least one brief video. So I can have that thing as a reminder. So when I see that, it will remind me to remember. You know what I mean. Moving on. Ooh, we are actually at the last point, and I am not even done packing. I'm very much at the beginning. It seems like this multitasking is not really working a lot for me. Anyway, last point is not keeping in touch with the friends you made. Now this is after you're done with your year abroad, after you're done with your study abroad experience. But I really think it will affect the way you perceive your experience. Because if you have built a lasting connection with someone and you still keep in touch with that someone, even if it's like you speak twice a year, you still keep in contact with them. You know how they're doing. You want to check on their well-being. You want to learn about their life. You talk about the things you experienced when you were together in the same country, about the things you did together, and you remind yourself of those times. You know, it's an amazing feeling, and it reminds you of the time you spent abroad and all the wonderful things you did, not just the bad things. Because I know a lot of people are prone, most people are prone to mainly remembering the bad stuff more than the good stuff. But if you keep in contact with the people you met abroad, and you remind yourself of all of the good stuff, it will really change the way you think about the time you spend abroad. And also at the end of the day, it's not about just what you have experienced as events and things. It's about what you have experienced emotionally, right? And at least I feel the strongest emotions when it comes to the people I spend that time with. The people I did those things with, and still being in contact with those people. It just brings out all these great emotions again. Oh wait, I think I missed the point. Because there was something I was going to say about people you met. Wait, what was it? Oh, okay. On the point of saying yes to everything and everyone, I also wanted to say that you should not be jumping into relationships with people. I don't mean like romantic relationships, although that's also a valid thing. But I mean friendships. I know when you go to a new place, you can become desperate to find friends quickly and connect to someone, just so you don't feel lonely, just so you have someone. But, and this is a big but, you can't be friends with just anyone, obviously. And out of desperation to have friends, I know some people who have gotten themselves in a bit of a mess because they didn't take the time to choose the people around them wisely. Don't rush. You will find your people. It takes time, energy, effort, but when you click with someone, you click with someone. And if something is not working out with someone, don't try and force it too much. Your time abroad will be significantly better if you find the right people instead of just going around with the crowd. You know, there is always that one group, like the party people, or the popular ones, or the ones that everyone wants to be friends with because they will do all these crazy stuff and whatever. If that is not for you, don't force it to be you. It's not just about partying and finding the right person to party with. It's about actually building a connection with someone, actually building a good relationship with someone, right? And if you don't fit, if you don't click, but you still go with those people, even if it doesn't feel right, then again, that will affect the way you think of your experience abroad. And most probably it will be a negative thinking. And as an overarching advice, fix your mindset. Get your head in the game. That's the main thing. It's all about your mindset and how you view things. And that's why I was saying in the beginning that you should not be doing too much research, because that research will significantly affect the mindset you're going into that country with. Get your head in the game. You're going there to study, experience a new culture, make new friends, eat yummy food, travel, become a different person. Whatever it is, whatever your main goal is, focus on that and chase that one goal. And if you do that, then chances are you will enjoy your year abroad, or your study abroad in general. I feel like this video is way too preachy and ranty, but I have met so many people, so many international students that have these so very negative experiences no matter where they go. And yes, it just makes me sad. It makes me sad. It also makes me a little bit angry. Maybe it makes me more angry than sad. Because if you keep going from country to country and you're never satisfied and you're never happy and you always have negative thoughts about it, negative opinions about it, then I'm sorry. But the problem is you. Anyway, on a brighter note, for me, studying abroad has been an absolutely incredible experience. I have no regrets. I will do it again and again and again. Minus the studying part because I'm sick of studying. But yes, it really did change my life for the better. Anyway, if you want to hear about my experience studying in Japan, then check out this video. I promise it's way more positive. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.